Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of the Panoptic Gamers podcast. On this episode, Vero and I chat with Tobin about TempleCon. We talk about this year's con as well as past cons, and what we liked and hope to see in future cons. We hope you enjoy this episode, and if you have questions, comments, or suggestions about this or any other topics, let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to check out snaptocover.com for the latest posts, updates, and videos like Tobin's devlog series. Enjoy the show! TempleCon 2015.
So, I actually I never really heard the exact story here of, way back in, how did Tobin start? Like, how did you get into TempleCon?
So, I got into TempleCon in 2010 because I was looking to go to my first gaming convention.
So you were actively, researching and trying to find cons to go to a gaming convention?
Yeah, and so I ended up finding they have these little flyers that they put at all the game stores, and so I had just gotten into tabletop, miniature wargaming at that point, so I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Living alone in Marlborough, I decided I needed something to do with a weekend, so I decided to go to TempleCon and see what it was all about.
Tobin was lonely, looking
I was
for
lonely.
Well, it was the best decision that you've ever made.
Oh, it was fun.
That's a low bar. Ever made in his entire life.
Hey,
well,
I don't make those decisions.
Getting married.
I don't mean it that way. I mean it to the degree that it caused ripple effects throughout your friends' lives.
It was the butterfly effect in all our friendships.
Because you did that, my wife got new shoes.
My Vero learned to dance.
That is actually true.
Earrings.
And the earrings. Yep.
Yes, but that was a ripple effect, 5 years from then
That's
to now?
Even more impressive.
Yep.
No, it's not. You got shoes because of an action. The action should be dramatically greater,
I don't know, it seems pretty awesome to me.
A decision Tobin made 5 years ago led to someone getting shoes.
And earrings.
And earrings. I would say it's a little more significant than that, as we had just gotten out of college at that time. Tobin was incessantly ranting about this amazing convention, and having never been to conventions before, I was very skeptical of all this, because it was like, well, I'm nerdy, but I'm not that nerdy.
Didn't we go to PAX, though?
Well, eventually we went to PAX, but this was pre-PAX, actually.
Really?
Yes.
I thought you guys went to TempleCon after we've gone to PAX, at least once.
Well, we have, but TempleCon was before that.
Oh.
Tobin went to TempleCon first. Okay. Then in the timeline of things, I went to TempleCon 2 years after 2 years of propaganda from Tobin.
You make it sound like North Korea.
I was strong on it. I'm still strong on it.
It was so much to the point where we had the meme going where whenever we had plans, we were like, oh guys, hold on, I can't go. I have TempleCon that weekend.
And that was a meme for about a year.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I'd say one of the bigger things that came out of it is even this podcast. If I hadn't gone to PAX in 2000, if I hadn't gone to TempleCon in 2011, I probably wouldn't have seen Mercs. I probably wouldn't have started Snap to Cover and the podcast there, and this show here might not even be hitting your airways.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Now, see, that's a little more significant here than shoes, I think.
Not in the female mind.
What?
Shoes always reign.
Shoes are very important.
That's sexist.
Well, it may be sexist, but it's also true.
My wife got a Coach purse the first time we went to TempleCon as a bribe, so it works.
There you go.
Gifts. Yeah, and it's... So, I guess we should actually shed a little light on what the hell TempleCon is.
That's true.
So, you might have picked up that TempleCon is a gaming convention, but is also very heavy on the steampunk. It is heavy on the miniatures, and it's heavy on tabletop. And then there's a light smattering of arcade games.
And vendors.
Well, heavy smattering of vendors. Of really awesome, really cool vendors.
Yeah.
And each year they try to do a different theme in that whole retrofuturism. So, like, they do cyberpunk, they do post-apocalypse, anything in that kind of genre, but it always ends up being steampunk.
Well, that's because steampunk is so loosely defined that it's just steampunk more or less defines the genre of punk.
I don't think it's loosely defined because it pretty much stays within the confines of Victorian era steam generated power. That's pretty much it. That's what it is.
That's as traditional as it gets, yeah. And then I don't know, but then you have biopunk was very
that was big last year.
Yeah, that was last year's theme, and that was very what would you say? It would be like doing BioShock.
Okay.
Where you had all those genetic modifications and stuff.
Right.
That people had gills.
I actually didn't know that
mermaids.
there were themes.
Yeah.
I thought it was just TempleCon.
Well, you came
vanilla TempleCon.
Since you came this year. This year's theme was Crossroads, and Crossroads was this was TempleCon's I think 10th anniversary, and they're like, do all the themes from the last 10 years. Do them all the themes.
Okay, because it did seem a little mishmash to me.
Yeah.
When I went.
Last year was...
They've done diesel punk, which is basically steampunk, but if everything ran on oil.
Okay.
They've done cyberpunk, which is like the futuristic, think of Hackers, or maybe even Judge Dredd. I don't know if you could really call that cyberpunk or not.
I wouldn't call that cyberpunk. Judge Dredd is more like dystopian futurism.
Think Tron.
Tron would be cyberpunk.
Think Daft Punk. Those
right. Right.
But yeah, they did that. Again, biopunk, where they were talking about modifications in hands. Like they had a lot of lectures. They try to stick the lectures to whatever the theme is too. So you'll see more of a certain type of theme. So I think they had talks of human modification where they were putting RFID readers underneath the skin so that people could manipulate things with their hands. Some other guy had inserted magnets under the skin of his fingers so he could hold on to like a Coke can without having to actually pick it up.
It's like having frog suction.
Vein tubes coming out of your body.
Yeah, so there was a lot of stuff like that year.
Yeah,
cool.
And I have a whole bunch of pictures from the fashion show that year. It was very mermaidy and treants and stuff. So there's lots one whole fashion line was like a fusion of plants and people. Another one was a fashion of fish and people.
Okay.
Yeah. It was interesting. I actually liked this year's fashion show better, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, the end was kind of it went on for way too long. They could have just had maybe half as many fashions out of that one designer and been fine.
Yeah.
But it was just all samey too. All of them just looked like Death Shrouds, and I know that's what they were going for, but dude.
They were exploring...
Switch it up a little.
Yeah, they were exploring the
life and death.
Essence of life and death.
Yeah, they're merging life and death together.
But I think they made it a little too morbid. They definitely focused on the morbid part.
It kind of reminded me a lot of Face Off, the show Face Off. Because a lot of the I don't know, they just had that theme of life and death, because they just recently had a season in which that was the theme of the season.
Yeah. And I guess they could have easily kept with that theme, and they could have focused on the morbidity, but they could have sped it up.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Well, the reason that they were going so slow is that all of the models in that fashion show were blindfolded, so they were walking extremely slow to make sure that they didn't fall off the stage.
Yeah, that was very true.
It was sheer material, so they could see through it. It just wasn't as good.
Yeah,
yes, but it was also
very dark.
It was red lighting. That was it.
I understand, and that's true. But it was sheer material. They still could see.
Look at us, a bunch of gamers
talking
about fashion.
Yeah.
Did you see her dress, Becky? It was
gross. My god. So, Tobin, I have a question for you, though.
Go for
Out
it.
of all the years that you've gone to TempleCon, because I know you've gone the most, how have you seen it evolve through the years that you've gone?
Well, I think a lot of it's been on what I've been focusing on each year. So the first year I went there, it was the first time I'd been playing miniature games for like maybe a month. So I played a couple of games of War Machine, and then I was like, all right, that was cool, I'm done. The second year, I was a lot more into miniature wargaming. I was doing a lot more demos, and ended up trying Mercs, liked it. The following year, it was basically just playing Mercs the entire time, doing the tournaments. And then that was kind of the turning point. That was when I started the website and decided that this was going to be it. Every February I was going to be going to TempleCon. Year after that was a lot more role-playing. I think that was when you joined Vero.
Yes.
And we started playing. We played Unhallowed Metropolis, and we played the Clockwork RPG.
Yep. Well, just the two of us, by the way.
Yeah.
We're the only two to show up to this Clockwork RPG at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
And I'm pretty sure the guy just wanted to close it and not run the demo at that point, but he was a good sport and ran it for the two of us, and it was a lot of fun.
It was, and he was actually oddly surprised with how interesting it got. He was like, this wasn't at all how it was supposed to go.
Yeah, we were trying to save Nikola Tesla from the Russians on a steampunk ship. So it was like two of us against the Russian army trying to get Nikola Tesla, and I think I ended up getting killed in Antarctica, and I think I ended up sacrificing myself to try and get him on the ship with you.
Yeah, so we finally get everything. We're like, you sacrifice yourself, and then I make a run for it on the sled. I push Nikola Tesla onto the sled, and then one of the soldiers makes a roll and manages to grapple him off the sled. So I can't stop, and I just make a run for it. And basically, Nikola Tesla just gets captured by the Russians.
So you failed your mission.
We did.
We failed it.
We did.
Okay.
This is one of the first RPGs that have ever actually failed.
Yeah. But so have you seen the changes in the number of vendors or the amount of people that have gone there per year or something like that? Like, have you ever noticed that change?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the biggest one, I think.
It's steadily getting more popular.
So I'm wondering, at what point are they going to not be able to fit in that hotel and have to move it to some place like, a larger venue?
I don't know if they'll have to not move out of the hotel, but they will have to reserve more space from the hotel. They'll probably have to use more suites, and they'll probably expand the bazaar, which is literally the first floor hallway. One hallway on the first floor that's filled with shops. They'll have to take over another hallway.
I thought that was really cool, though. Like, I've never seen a convention that did that used, like, the suites of the hotel as kind of a shop, like, shop rooms. I thought that was pretty cool. And a lot of the vendors had some really cool stuff. Like, my wife was telling me that you could go in there looking like a regular guy, and then leave there coming out looking like, steampunk, retro futurism man of the year, Of
course. But,
like, it's so easy to do that everyone, there are vendors for everything.
Jeff, I would like to iterate that you would also be $1,000 less rich.
Well, assuming that money is no object.
Yep.
It can be done.
If you want to buy these things, I recommend you don't, and you craft your own.
Well,
or
sometimes you want good-looking stuff, and sometimes you don't necessarily have the same skills as other people that have been doing it for years.
Well, you buy the things that are hard to make, and then you craft your own props.
I bought a syringe this year for my cosplay. See, I'm getting more into that. It was definitely one of those purchases where you're like, wow, this is awesome, I need to have it. And then after you purchase it, you go, did I just really spend $75 on a syringe that I'm going to use one time a year? I guess I did. Yep, that's the character I'm playing for the rest of my life.
Yep, there you go.
You've just locked it in now. It's just locked in. But
you know
what this means, Tobin? You have to expand to more conventions so that you can wear these.
That's true.
Okay.
And then bring us to those conventions.
Yeah, at the end of the show, I'd like to talk about a possible other convention that I'm interested in.
Okay.
But cool. Yes. So yeah, past of TempleCon. This is the history of how we got into it, and pretty much we have concluded that it is the birthplace of Snap to Cover.
Yeah. Also, it's 4 days long.
It's 4 days long now. It expanded.
Oh, it did?
Yes.
Yeah, it used to be just 2.
Used to be 2. When I started it, it was 3. And then then the next year, it expanded to 4. And then the year after that is is this year.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's just growing. It's growing bigger and bigger every year.
So Jeff, this was your first TempleCon. What were your impressions? I mean, you're coming into it not really knowing, just hearing stories from us, but not really knowing anything.
Had I known that I needed that, it wasn't just steampunk stuff, I would have dressed up a little bit better than I did, because I basically just went with street clothes, because I didn't know what to expect. I think in retrospect, I should have gone for a more, like, vest and button up with the bow tie and like, the pocket watch kind of thing. I could do that and not look out of place in the real world and, out of place at TempleCon. I felt very out of place there, only because I felt like an outsider just looking in. I really liked the vibe that everyone gave off. Everyone was so friendly. Everyone was very nice about just, I don't know, being people. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It's one of the things that
like you go there and everyone accepts everyone for who they are and what they like. It's just a fantastic feeling.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things. Actually, so one of the things I look forward to most and I want to say this, that this is not because I'm an alcoholic, but I love the seminars that involve the alcohol, like the whiskey seminars and so forth, because you're already put in a very friendly environment, but once you mix like a group of people who are then learning very interesting facts about alcohol and then drinking that alcohol, really tends to open them up to, let's just have a great time with these people we've never met.
That's true.
It definitely happened this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely next year, both Rachel and I want to sign up for some tastings. If it's not, probably a rum tasting, because Rachel likes rum, so we'll probably do that.
I am looking forward to the rum tasting, because I have heard that we just saw them come. I just saw people come out of the rum tasting this year, and they were carrying shot glasses with shots of rum in them.
Yep.
So that's
awesome.
that's a seminar that you're not driving away from.
Yeah,
ever.
But literally.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Peel, who runs the bourbon tasting, does an amazing job. He always finds
some of the best whiskeys.
He finds awesome whiskeys that are extremely cheap. And I always find one that I like each year. In fact, I'm drinking one now. But yeah, he does a really good job with that. They're accessible whiskeys. It's not a $200 whiskey that you're trying. It's a $25 whiskey that's as good or better than the $200 whiskey.
Yeah. I've found that with whiskeys, you don't really have to spend a lot of money to get a good whiskey.
Oh, I have a great story about the bourbon tasting. So,
okay.
At this bourbon tasting, what you do is you traditionally get 6 whiskeys. So at the bourbon tasting, Ben gave us 2 bonus whiskeys.
You guys can't see this, but Tobin is face-palming really hard right now.
He gave us 2 bonus whiskeys. One was a pure wheat whiskey. He was like, because bourbon is traditionally made with, it's a 51% corn. That is the definition of bourbon. And so he gave us a wheat whiskey, which was made with 80% wheat, and then he gave us a corn whiskey, which I believe this corn whiskey was made with 100% corn. And the corn whiskey was clear, was just crystal clear, and then you pour it into your glass, you take a smell, and you're like, oh my god, this is candy corn. It smells like horrible, horrible candy corn. And it tasted buttery and corn, and it was like never having corn whiskey again. But it was amazing to experience.
I liked it. It was a lot like moonshine.
It was like, oh my god, what did I do?
I think the coolest thing about it was, getting back to the social aspect and the gaming aspect, was after that, everyone that we were talking to ended up going downstairs to the board game room, and we're playing a game of Cards Against Humanity. And while we're doing that, who shows up but Ben Peel again? And he just fills up our glasses with a nice pour of some leftover whiskey from the tasting. It
was the whiskey that you were drinking today, right now. What is it?
Which I will not name because I promised I would not disclose the name of this whiskey, because he doesn't want the price of it to go up.
Oh, did you talk to Ben?
Mm-hmm.
It is a delicious whiskey.
That's pretty funny. Wow.
Then, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm not going to name names.
Yeah, don't
Mostly because I don't remember the name of the horrible whiskey, and I don't want to tell you about the good whiskey.
Some of the seminars were pretty good too. Like, so we went to a seminar this year of unusual contraptions and of like the past. So there was some crazy inventions that people had made during like the Industrial Revolution and prior to that for various things that needed to be done. And these like crackpot inventors would make these like weird, grandpa solutions for random things that you would need. One thing stood out to me. It was some sort of fresh air thing that would bring fresh air into your room because you don't want to have your windows open because burglars might get in. So it literally looks like the one of those exhaust horns on a boat, but attached to your wall. So it's a little hole in your wall with this massive horn that comes out that widens over your bed, like over your head, over your bed. And it's supposed to bring fresh air in. But they said in the notes that the guy had, he said that he gave the whole explanation of what it is, and he said that it was shortly discontinued because people kept hearing the sounds from the street, and it was really annoying and kept them up at night because it was such a it was basically a it
was an amplification device.
Yeah, it amplified all the sounds because it was this big horn. And also, every time someone woke up, they would bang their head inside the horn. So it was like very poorly designed. It was just so hilarious. So this guy had like all kinds of inventions that were similar to that degree, and it was a very interesting seminar. I'm pretty glad that was my first one.
Yeah, there were a lot of beds and alarms. There was one that dropped a cage on your head to wake you up. Like, I thought just drop it on your face.
You guys mentioned that there was also a high five device.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was a device to practice high fives. It was basically a mechanical arm, like half arm, that just like made a high five motion.
I mean, because this is not a natural thing to happen. It was just new at the time, so people had to get used to it.
Well, because no one. Imagine, you're in high society back in, Victorian era. You don't want to be that guy that sucks at high fives. And if high fives are the new thing that's going around, clearly you got to get an invention to practice it so that you don't suck at it. So that you always look like you're pro at it.
Yeah, you got to be cool.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the Victorian age. Got to be cool.
It was so amazing.
That was really cool.
It wasn't like they had conservative views at all.
I would say one of the stranger ones was the one we went to at 11 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So I was half awake and started the convention off with the history of time travel.
Oh yes, I enjoyed that one. It basically. By the way, this is all done. These seminars are all done by the same guy. His name is Professor Mark Donnelly. If anybody ever wants to find him, he runs a store called Cain's and Abel. Just give him some credit there.
Well, these two, not all of them throughout the entire con.
But these two.
Right.
So I figured I'd just give him some credit. And he did for History of Time Travel, and I guess he helps write shows for the History and Discovery Channel. So this is some of the scripts that he comes and makes. And anyways, he did the presentation, and it was about all of the literature in the past that referenced time travel, and how the ideas of time travel, from lore and legends and so forth, like, developed into these different concepts. Like, it started off where time travel was, you were the sleeper, where you would just fall asleep and suddenly you'd wake up like 100 years later, and it would be the future, and so forth. And then it developed into much more complicated things where you could mess up the space-time continuum by altering history, and other ideas came along where it said you couldn't. There was policing of the time-space continuum. So if you broke laws, the police would come and stop you from altering it, and so forth.
Time police?
Yes, time police.
I think the one that completely destroyed my mind the most was he was referencing a story where a guy had a sex change to become a complete woman. Went back in time, had sex with himself, gave birth to himself. It was the strangest paradox I have ever heard. He said you need to be smoking or drinking something before reading this book. And I agreed.
And essentially what happened was that it turns out that he had pretty much created a world of himself. Every protagonist in the character was actually, in fact, the same person.
In the character. Story. Good choice of words.
Yeah, in the story.
Nice.
It was, well, actually, you know what? Character inside the character, with the character.
Full Inception.
It was just, yeah, pretty much.
There were so
many layers deep.
Wow. Yeah, there were a lot of seminars at this particular convention that we went to. I don't know if they've had much less in past years, or if have you noticed like a change in the number of?
It's about the same.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the seminars because they're one of the more social aspects of the con, and at
That's
the
true.
same time, I am not a fan of loud noises and crowds, so you're usually put into a room with 20 people, so you're not like it's not crazy crowded, and you can actually have a conversation with these people.
And you can only really see the vendors so much. Otherwise,
yes.
You're like, okay, I've seen the same wristbands like 50 times.
Yeah, so I should mention, like, we're focusing a lot on the social aspect in like the gaming and the panels and so forth.
Right.
But half the con is actually miniatures.
Yeah.
It's a big portion of the con is about the miniature play, like Iron War Machine and the whole Iron Kingdoms world universe. It's like a huge thing there. They do Relic Knights, and they do
Dark Age and Wrath of Kings, where Cool Mini has a huge booth there.
Yeah.
So they do theirs. They actually did their release this year, like their new release. They announced that there this year. And Privateer Press always announces their new stuff at TempleCon because it's the biggest War Machine Hordes convention in the world.
Wow.
Yes.
So yeah, I noticed that there is like when we went there that there was this big hallway, this wide hallway, and it was all just like tables set up with miniature map, like 3D model maps that you can set your stuff up and play games on. So
yep.
I thought that was pretty cool. And like the further you go down, there's just different games that are going on that are different, completely different games from
War
each
Machine.
other. Yeah.
And there's also and then there's the main ballroom, which is just literally lined with tables, and there's nothing but just mini games going on, miniatures.
Yeah. I feel like you could sit there playing the same game for like an entire day.
Well, yeah. What is it called? The Iron
Arena.
Iron Arena. This is like a thing where you earn points, and the more games you do, the more points you get, and so forth. And so people will go and marathon these for like days, right?
Yeah, and it's almost like bingo as well, because you get extra points if you play certain types of games. So if you find someone from another state, you get points. You get like extra points. If you find someone from another country, you get extra points. I remember back in, I think it was 2011, I was playing, and we ended up finding 2 people from other states and another person from another country, and we all played in the same game, so we ended up getting like a crap ton of points because we had multiple people. We had 4 people playing in the same game. We had people from other states. We had people from other countries. And so we ended up with I forget if we got 20 points or something for that one game. And then you can redeem those points for prizes. So you can get dice, or if you play a lot of games, you can even get free models or free concept artwork. So it's definitely, it pushes people to try and get out of their comfort zone. Don't play against your friends. Play against strangers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. And that's one of the best. Go for it.
I noticed that there were a lot of expansions for Zombicide. I didn't realize that there were so many. Because you could get little character packs that have specific characters in them. And it's just that. It's like a character. And there was even a set that you could just add companion dogs to the game.
Yeah.
You're like, everyone gets a companion dog. They probably do different things. Who knows? It was pretty cool. I kind of like that.
They even had one for Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory.
Really? You could play as him?
You could play as Sheldon.
That's amazing.
Wow. So, one of the things that happened on Thursday, which I saw, was one of the vendors, which sold out on Thursday of this item, had these Inception dice. They were D20s with dice inside the D20. And I just, it blew my mind. But he sold out of them, on the first day.
You know who I'm surprised wasn't there as a vendor? There was a guy at PAX last year, and I've seen him before. He sells the metal rings that you wear, that are dice rings that you could spin.
Oh.
They're like spinner rings, and they
Yeah.
have the dice numbers and stuff on them. And I didn't see him there, and I kind of wished that he was because I wanted to buy one. So I'll have to wait till PAX.
Yeah, if he's not at PAX, let me know, and I'll see if I can find him at Gen Con if I go out there this year.
Yeah.
Because he was out there last year.
When is
cool.
When is Gen Con?
Gen Con is in August.
It's in August, okay.
No,
And that's out in Seattle?
Indianapolis.
Indiana.
Indianapolis.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Gen Con is primarily minis, right?
It is all board games.
Board games, so tabletop.
Yep.
Pure tabletop dedication. Is there cosplay there?
Tons of cosplay. It's like TempleCon, but at a scale that is twice as big as PAX.
Okay. Holy crap.
Twice as big as PAX East?
PAX
or
East.
PAX Prime?
PAX East. I'm in PAX Prime, so I couldn't say that, but there's probably about twice as much space at Gen Con as there is at PAX East, and it's entirely tabletop games.
Jeez.
Not to get sidetracked with Gen Con, but I remember walking down the hallway and it almost being like the stock market, like people were holding up signs and just shouting, and I'm like, what is going on? Is there like an auction going on? And it was people looking for a group to play Pathfinder.
Wow.
Which was just blew my mind. I was like, really? There was literally like 300 people in one hallway just shouting, I'm a level 14 bard looking for a group.
It's like LFG.
LFG, yeah, exactly. They had
Spamming
iPads
chat.
and it was nuts.
Spamming general chat in real life.
Seriously.
Wow.
That's awesome. I have to say the cosplay at TempleCon was pretty amazing. I've never seen such detail and such cosplay.
I love it. I really do.
It's amazing.
That's one of the things I love about the cosplay, especially at TempleCon, is the focus on the steampunk, because you're not playing a particular character that you're a fan of, but you're kind of just constructing your own character, and you're using minute details to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone dressed up as the dude.
Yes.
The Big Lebowski.
Yes.
That was one of my favorites. And then, this one was interesting. I saw 2 characters that were dressed up like Star Wars characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it caught me off guard because I thought that TempleCon wasn't within that realm of cosplay, but apparently anything goes for cosplay.
Well, anything will go, but I mean also it's like you steampunkify it a little bit, because I noticed that you're talking about the red Twi'lek, right?
Twi'lek, yeah.
Twi'lek, okay. She had steampunk goggles on and everything with it.
In a suit.
Yeah, but that's how the Twi'leks kind of dress, though.
Well, whatever. You know.
I feel like if I dressed as Kyle Katarn, that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
You ever seen Kyle Katarn? Yeah.
Mhm.
That would have been, like, perfect. I feel like I could pull that off.
I agree.
Yeah. But, so I could have worn my, like, Assassin's Creed outfit, and that would have been great.
Yep.
But I didn't realize that it wasn't, that you could dress up as anything other than steampunk.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to cosplay, I think pretty much anything goes. Any reason to get dressed up is a good reason to get dressed up. I mean, even Vero found his way into a video.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find that and post it up on the Snap to Cover Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely put a link in the doobly-doo for the YouTube channel for this one.
The doobly-doo?
That's what it's called, man. In the YouTube, the little description down below and stuff, it's called the doobly-doo.
Is it really called the doobly-doo?
That's what I hear. Everybody calls it the doobly-doo.
I've never heard that before.
It's true, man. It's called.
Have you, Tobin?
So true, I have not. I thought that was the About section, but I'll go with doobly-doo.
Okay. Alright. Alright, so Vero, give us your impressions of this year's con.
This year's con? Well, I mean, I guess to give you my impressions of this year's con, I would say that I'd have to go a little back with my first impression, where, you know, once again, TempleCon, for me, the first time, I was very skeptical about it, because I'd never really been to a convention before. And I believe, actually, I went to PAX East before I went to TempleCon. And that was the first ever convention I went to, and I was overwhelmed, but it was totally amazing. I was like, oh my god, I've been missing out. So that kind of pushed me over the edge to go to the TempleCon with Tobin, and to me, TempleCon was such a much better experience because it was much more personal, because there wasn't as many people there. So, you definitely I had a lot more fun at TempleCon. In general, I do. So this year, it was great to come back to TempleCon because there was a lot of people that I had met from the previous years, and I had no problem like just reconnecting and having a great time with these old people that I've met from previous years. And then, you know, and that got me excited to always meet some new people. So I was much more social than I normally was in regular situations. So, you know, it's a great feeling to go and just meet all these people that have similar interests.
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt that I liked a lot of the vendors this year. They were the great vendors. Big Bear Trading Company, that guy is always fun to talk to.
Yeah, a lot of the vendors have like a like they all have personalities.
Yeah.
Not just personalities, but personas that they like stick to. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. And there is one thing that I want to add about the vendors. There is such a large variety between price points. Like you could go to a vendor and you could pay like $6 for like, I don't know, a little watch, like a wristband thing, like a leather wristband or whatever. Or you could pay like $300 for like a cast or like a solid steel sword, you know. You could go nuts. Or you could just like buy like an entire outfit, like I said earlier. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Like there's clothing, there's items that you could add to your costume. There's like gifts that you could get for other people. There's like little tchotchkes that you could get for your desk. You know, like there's everything. It's pretty cool that you could go there with maybe like $20 in your pocket and still have like something to come away with. You know.
Yeah, I mean, going back to personas, I love Big Bear Trading Company's persona because you walk in there and he treats everyone exactly the same. He, you know, greets you as soon as you walk into the room, and then if you look at anything in particular, if anything catches your eye, he immediately gives you a quick history lesson. Like, I picked up a pipe, and he goes, "This is a pipe made in 1700s, and it has a copper top on it so that you could smoke it on a ship." And then he's like, "That's $5." You know, he ends it with like how much it costs, but you know, he never pushes you, but he gives you this awesome history lesson, and you learn so much. And then it's like, you know what? Just for just for teaching me something, I'm going to go buy this.
Yeah, I think that's what his sales method is, because he like gives you a whole explanation, and then you're like, well, I might as well buy it now because that's an awesome explanation.
If someone did that as a car salesman, I would buy the whole lot. I mean,
yeah, this car was owned by John Voight, and you're like, oh, I'm in it.
Yeah,
it's happening. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we hit a good wrapping up point in our show. So, Vero, you wanted to plug some stuff, right?
Jeff.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to plug some stuff, but I also wanted to give one little go around here. What do you want to see happen at the next TempleCon? What do you want to do at the next TempleCon? What is your expectation or hope or whatever?
Let me think about that for a second. Give that question to Tobin, and right. I'll come back to that.
All right. So this year I spent a lot more time on cosplay. Mm-hmm. I've always been intrigued by it. Even the first year that I went, I'm like, these guys look pretty cool. I mean, this is pretty sweet. This year I ended up buying the syringe. I had the gas mask and the goggles that I had done up for Unhallowed Metropolis. So I think next year I'm going to try and fully complete the costume and possibly enter the cosplay show next year.
That would be pretty cool. I'm hoping, I'm definitely, with whatever I'm putting together, it's been kind of a slow evolution into like something very scholarly, and I think I've finally found sort of a direction to take it in. So I'm definitely hoping to improve the costume that I wore this year. And I really hope that there's more activities to do with cosplay. Like, not so far as a LARP, because I'm no good with acting. I just can't do it. I clam right up. But I would love to see, like what they do offer, one of the things, second year I was there, they had an after hours party that was kind of an invitation only, and everybody dressed up for Unhallowed Metropolis. Everybody dressed up and they had a good time. We drank, and it was really cool. And I'd love to see some more events like that. There wasn't that. I guess I didn't network with the right people this year because I didn't hear of any after parties that were going on of that caliber.
Mm-hmm. I would love to see Unhallowed Metropolis get back again next year. They didn't show up probably because of the snow, but I'm hoping that the snow stays off next year and that they come out because it's probably the highlight of my convention is playing games with them.
Yeah, they did have some Unhallowed Metropolis roleplays, but the creators were not there. That was true.
Okay, so I think my expectation for next year, I kind of want to see more vendors, because I feel like the vendors were there, but I feel like it was still a little sparse. I also think, I also agree with you, I think they should have more social, cosplay-themed events, and maybe not so much just things that you can go to, but like things that you can participate in. Not necessarily like a cosplay.
Now, there was that event, the High Tea or something like that.
Yes.
And I don't know what that's about, but that seemed interesting and something I should investigate.
So, yeah, we really should have tried to book in advance for that, because I feel like that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like they should have more of those kind of things, because I feel like that would be awesome. The other thing is, I need to really work on a direction of where I want to go for a cosplay costume. Because right now, the thing was, I didn't want to just start buying little odds and ends and then like mishmash it together and have something incoherent.
Yeah.
So I really had to like stop myself from buying out the whole place because I loved everything. I was like, I want this, I want that. But then I was like, but I don't know if they all go together, and it's not until like I buy them that I'll find that out. So
you were at that coat vendor, and you were like, I want this coat, I want that coat, I want all the coats.
Wait, what coat vendor? Oh, that one?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I wasn't about to buy a coat. I was like looking at it because I was like, okay, these are pretty cool, and I wanted to try them on because I wanted to see how like how things would look on me, you know, how certain looks would look on me. So that's why I did that. But, like, I wasn't about to buy anything then, at that point. It was all the other, there was, like, a bottle, like a glass bottle with a cork stopper.
Yeah.
With, like, a leather thing around it. And I wanted to use that as, like, a flask that I could bring to the con. I feel like that would be awesome. Just fill it with whiskey and just, like, take swigs of it. That would be awesome. So, but the thing was, like, if I bought that, then I wouldn't really know what to do with it. No. So what I have to do is think of what direction I want to go in, and then try and get, like, some starter pieces, maybe, and then, like, build off of that.
Well, I mean, Jeff, my best
have to have a
advice
direction
to you is first just get your clothing ready, get the clothing right.
Yeah, it's all about that.
And then you work off of
I agree. You have to build off of a base and then expand.
Yes.
So what I would suggest is find one item that you could put in your cosplay that kind of inspires you.
Yeah.
Like, I was originally going for the Undertaker in Unhallowed Metropolis when I had my gas mask, the top hat, and the goggles. But then once I found that syringe, I went, I want to be a plague doctor. You know, so I instantly changed directions with my cosplay, and now I'm going to completely go in that direction.
Right. But you had the luxury to be able to use what you still had and just change the direction slightly. So I don't want to get caught up into, like, getting half a costume and then be like, well, now the stuff that I want to get has nothing to do with the other half, so now I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So I have to figure out what I want to do and then build upon that. And Rachel has already commissioned a corset, so that's awesome.
Nice.
Oh, from Katie?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's my take on my expectations and hopes and dreams are for the coming TempleCons.
So let's see, we got PAX East. I believe all of us are going to that soon.
Yep, PAX East.
That was incredibly crazy to get tickets for, like WTF people.
Yep.
That sold out in 10 minutes or so.
The 3 days, yeah.
The 3 days sold out in 10 minutes. So I'm only going to Friday and Saturday for that one.
Okay.
And I'm strongly considering that next year I will try Arisia, I believe it's called.
Arisian.
I didn't know there's no N at the end though. So
Arisia. It's a soft silent N.
Arisia.
Yes. Arisia.
It's an invisible N.
And that's a sci-fi anime convention, less tabletop, but more cosplay and fiction and escapist. And it looked really interesting. I looked at the 2015 schedule and I was like, wow, there's just so many events going on that it just looked so cool. So,
I mean, I would go to these just to people watch, because, like, that's half the fun. Just going and checking out other people's costumes and stuff.
Yep.
That's like the best part.
And I think, like, a great thing also about it is that when you're at these conventions, there's a layer of, like, just skinned off of everybody who, like, of being, like, antisocial. Like, you're so much more social then.
Yeah. Because you know everyone else is just as antisocial as you are. So you know that
everyone else around you is just as nerdy, if not nerdier than you.
Yeah. So you fit in.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So you feel comfortable. And then you have, the whiskey tasting, and then feel even more comfortable.
Then you're very comfortable.
Yeah, and then you just start dancing with random girls at a dance, and it's awesome.
It happens.
Yeah. Alright, on that note, I think we should wrap up. So, is there anything anyone wants to plug? Tobin, Vero?
I'm going to be running the PAX booth with the Mercs guys, MegCon Games. So if you're at PAX East next month, feel free to swing by and say hi.
And if you're listening to this from the YouTube channel, please be sure to check out the links below. Whatever links we plug.
Well, thanks a lot, Tobin, for joining us on our episode
and
enlightening us about TempleCon and its many awesomenesses. So with that, I think we'll conclude. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Take it easy.
Bye.